Relax, this is not a Trump hat, and this is not a Wooting 60HE+. But for 99% of potential Hall effect keyboard buyers, it might as well be. This is the MCHOSE A60 Hall effect keyboard, and I want you to guess the price of this keyboard for the rest of the video, and then I'll tell you the answer at the end. Physically, it's nothing special, but in terms of build quality, it's definitely good enough. It's a plastic body with no flex at all, PBT double shot keycaps that shine through, and about the same level of sturdiness as a stock plastic Wooting 60HE+, which isn't great, but perfectly fine. It uses ice blue magnetic switches, which I think feel much better than the stock Wooting Lacquer V2 switches, with no stem wobble at all, great smoothness, and decent sound. Some argue that switch feel isn't important in a Hall effect board, since performance is the #1 focus, but a wobbly switch makes consistent, precise inputs feel very difficult, so the better switches here are definitely much appreciated. The stabs are excellent, with good lube and minimal rattle, especially for a plastic gaming keyboard, and I have no complaint. It also, of course, has RGB. But most importantly, with Hall effect keyboards, it's the performance that matters most. This thing runs at 8000 Hz polling rate, which is about as high as it gets these days, and has a Berserk mode, which from what I understand is similar to the Tachyon mode that you find on Wooting keyboards. This gives the keyboard slightly more performance at the cost of some possible stability issues. The truth is though, in real world use, I have no complaints, and really, even on my 480Hz OLED gaming monitor, both keyboards feel basically identical in terms of performance. Another big important thing about Hall effect keyboards is whether the software suite is good with sufficient features and control, and with the MCHOSE, it really isn't an issue. Now, Wooting still has the lead here, of course, but you get a really good set of features still with the MCHOSE. It's a web-based UI, so nothing to install, and plenty of fine controls for things like rapid trigger, adjustable rapid trigger sensitivity, and adding the features that you want really on any Hall effect board worth its weight. SOCD, Rappy Snappy, Mod Tap, and Dynamic Key Press are all available on the MCHOSE as well. Basically, if you're a PC gamer focused on PC gaming, this is gonna do anything any other Hall effect keyboard that's being recommended can do. The UI is also pretty well laid out, though it is suspiciously similar to the Wooting designed software, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The only issue I have with the UI is that it activates in Chinese by default, and changing the language is in the bottom left corner here. I hope MCHOSE can fix this by making the language changing option more obvious, so I don't have to translate the whole page just to change the language, or just make the page English by default if my region is outside of China. Now, the Wooting still has one feature that this keyboard does not have, and that's the ability to program your board to act like an analog console controller. But for the average PC gamer who's looking to get Hall effect gaming keyboards for making the competitive FPS PC gaming experience more responsive and high performance, this is a completely irrelevant feature. So while Wooting has an advantage on that front, do you really care about it? I'm willing to bet most people watching this video or looking at a Hall effect keyboard won't, me included. And then there's the price. Remember at the start of this video, I told you to guess the price of this keyboard. Well, it's $39 US. Did you guess it right? At that price, it is an insane value for money. And it's actually a quarter of the price of a Wooting 60HE+ that's fully assembled. Which means for one Wooting, you can buy 4 of these MCHOSE keyboards and kit out your whole 4 stack. I'm sorry, but for that kind of price difference, with such little real-world difference in actual use and performance, the MCHOSE A60 is an insane deal, and it makes me really wonder whether the Wooting is even worth it, or even higher-end Hall effect keyboards are even worth it right now anymore. Not to mention, since Wooting doesn't work with distributors to have local stock everywhere, you're going to have to pay exorbitant shipping fees if you live in Asia like me, not to mention wait a long time for your keyboard to arrive to you. Anyways though, the MCHOSE A60 Hall effect keyboard is an insane deal with insane value. So for anyone who wants to get a good Hall effect keyboard for cheap, this hands down gets my #1 recommendation over everything else I've tried so far, especially if getting a cheap board that is a budget-friendly option is a major concern. If this video is helpful, subscribe.